Hello. Hope everybody is doing well on this Friday. Is lovely outside. I'm going to take my dog for a walk soon. How do I share this? I don't know. I'll learn to use this one day. Share. Okay. As always, this is recorded for anyone who hops on late or cannot join us live. Today, I want to talk about stress. A few things specifically that I want to cover. So, first, why that stress supplement is probably not working. Talking about that a little bit. Talking about, how to address stress. Because I feel like stress is like this vague thing that we always refer to, but a lot of times we don't really do anything about. We often, use it as a reason for a lot of our symptoms, and it is a reason for a lot of our symptoms, but what do we actually do about that? And then I want to just talk about an interesting tidbit regarding blood sugar, because my upcoming Better Blood Sugar program is focused on blood sugar and eating for better blood sugar. And I want to talk about the connection between stress and blood sugar, because I feel like that will be relevant here and potentially super helpful. So as always, it's not going to be super long because I like to keep it short and sweet. So you can just get like the tidbits that you want on a Friday and kind of move on with your weekend. But also I want to bring value to you. So if there's something that you want to know or would like to understand more, send me a message and we can chat about that being one of our topics. So let's get started. So essentially, a lot of people I see in practice are taking a supplement or adrenal type of supplement, adrenal support, stress supplement. And I use herbs for stress support a lot. But sometimes it just isn't the fix. And there's a couple reasons for this. Let's scale back to what these supplements actually do. So if you're on an adrenal supplement, an adrenal support, oftentimes you'll see things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginseng. Like I could go on. There's a list of things that you could take for stress support. And the reality is these products are designed to help your body respond less drastically to stress. So if we look at stress as a condition or as a response, stress is a very normal response, right? Your body feels like it's running from a bear. We're in this fight or flight type of situation. And really, the majority of the time, I would say pretty much all of the time, we actually aren't running from a bear, right? We are actually at our desk. We've just gotten an email. We've gotten news that, we didn't want to get. We're in a fight with our spouse. We are stressed about our kids not doing what we've asked them to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when we're talking about stress here, we're often talking about things that we don't need to be running from a bear for, right? So that's, the first thing that we need to address is the fact that the stress that we experience today is not the same as the type of stress that our bodies experienced, way back when. So when we take something like ashwagandha or rhodiola, it basically changes the way our body responds to that stress. So the feedback I get, especially when someone is taking it for at least 12 weeks, it will not work if you just start taking it today. It's not going to work by the weekend. So I usually give it 12 weeks and then we reassess. First thing, it has to be at the proper dose. Second thing, it has to be for the proper timeline, or else we're not going to see those objective benefits we're looking for. The feedback I get from patients is they'll say, I still have my same external stressors, but I feel like I'm able to deal with those stressors a lot better than I used to be able to. But chronic stress is complex, right? It's not just, a deficiency in herbs or deficiency in calming things. There are other things we have to look at. And some of these things can be really triggering for people to look at. Things like work overload, unhealthy relationships, sleep issues, right? I think we're all looking for the magic bullet, the thing that's going to make them feel better, the thing that's going to add a pep in their step. And they're chronically stressed. And, some people don't have that opportunity to up and quit their job and go to Bali, right? I wish I had that opportunity. But there are things that we can change in our life setting. Now, when I talk to patients about lifestyle things, when I talk to my patients about lifestyle things, I often, talk about, in the perfect scenario, if everything was great and your stress level was low, you might be able to get away with, being stressed at work. Sorry, stress is low at work. You might be able to get away with having that wine on the weekend and maybe not sleeping as great as you should, and maybe going out for dinner more than you should, and you'll still feel really good. And you might not experience weight gain, and you might not experience fatigue, and you still, everything's really good. But once shit hits the fan, we got to tighten things up. So this is the way I describe it to my patients. With stress, if you have a lot going on in your life, you cannot afford to do the things that make your symptoms worse, right? You cannot afford to, let's just throw an example. So you're super stressed at work, you've got life stress, you've got financial stress, whatever it may be. In that scenario, you're probably going to be tired. You're probably going to feel overwhelmed. You're probably going to, you might have trouble falling asleep. You can't afford to miss that water intake, to not consume enough protein, to not prioritize healthy sleep habits, including not scrolling in the evening, right? That ashwagandha is not going to pull you out of that financial stress while you can still participate in, smoking and drinking and being up all night and doom scrolling and, going out for dinner and maybe getting fast food 4 days a week, right? So we have to look at the whole picture. We know that obviously these things are not great for us, but there is a time and a place. If things are going really well, then maybe you can have that wine. Maybe you can, if you're moving your body, you're getting your steps, you're getting your protein, you're getting your water, you can still get away with that stressful job. And it's not going to impact your body, but things do pile up. And a stress supplement, an adrenal supplement, a thing that's I'm going to change your life, is absolutely not going to be the magic ticket. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about. What works for your friend is not going to work for you. And I see this in practice a lot. I might look at a research article and see rhodiola at this dose for 8 weeks is going to help significantly with burnout. And then I give it to a patient in that circumstance and they don't feel any different. So listen, Laura, I haven't noticed a change over this 12-week period when, 8 weeks was what was in the research. Cool. Everybody's different. Maybe you need a different approach. This is why looking at everything, and again, we can't just take that rhodiola when we're burnt out and then also still not sleep and drink, a ton of alcohol and not exercise and not eat well. It's not going to make you feel better. It just will not. So I think that's a really, really important thing to understand. And I think that we really need to look at our lives, especially as females, especially with Mother's Day coming up. And even if you are not a mother, looking at just in general, what can we say no to? What can we say no to? How can we, because again, like I said, we can't all up and, leave the jobs that we hate. Maybe we're not in a position, maybe you're not in a position to leave the relationship that you're not happy in. But what can we do around that, right? How can you fill your cup and not try to out supplement everything? Now, I want to talk about stress hormone can certainly worsen hot flashes and worsen sleep and worsen, period problems and delay ovulation or make it not happen at all. And so we have to look at, this cycle, right? How can we stop this cycle? What can we start in our life? How can we approach these situations so that we don't feel overwhelmed and we don't get to these physical manifestations of stress? One thing that I find is really interesting is when I do a test called the insulin glucose challenge. If you've worked with me, there's probably a chance that you've done the insulin glucose challenge yourself. Essentially what this is, and because I have my Better Blood Sugar program coming up, I'm going to talk through this a little bit because blood sugar certainly works with chronic stress and vice versa. So I really want to drive this point home. If you want to join my Better Blood Sugar program, it's 6 weeks live and recorded. It's only $129 plus tax. I had the discount code. Unfortunately, that has expired, but it's still $129 plus tax. So you're going to get a ton of value for that price. we're learning how to eat. You're getting guides. It's going to be fantastic. So now's the time to jump on that. The links are all in the group, in my Hormone Society group. So let's get back to the insulin glucose challenge. It is a 2-hour test. You go in, you get a baseline of your insulin and glucose, you drink the glucose drink, and then you proceed to get blood work done at half hour, 1 hour, 2 hour. Something I find interesting is my high stress patients tend to have a really high fasting insulin. Maybe not a high fasting glucose. Sometimes I see it both. But what happens is when you are stressed, your cortisol actually puts your body in a zone of, again, this fight or flight, right? One of the first things it does when you're stressed is cortisol will kick sugar out of the cells into the blood. Cortisol is going to be like, I need energy and I need it now because we're running from a bear. So essentially what will happen is your body senses stress, cortisol goes up, your blood sugar then goes up. This worsens your blood sugar. When you are stressed, you are worsening your blood sugar. And this is a big deal in someone who already has blood sugar issues like PCOS or trouble losing weight or hot flashes or postpartum or perimenopause. When you're in a state where your blood sugar, where you're already prone to insulin resistance, this makes things so much worse. So I want you to keep that in mind, that when you are chronically stressed, your body does not keep the same blood sugar balance overnight. And so in those patients who I see like a rising fasted insulin that is elevated, one of the biggest things that can really help them is stress management. Stress management is the root cause as to how they can manage their blood sugar. And in that case, that's also going to lead to weight management success. I don't want to say weight loss because I hate that word, or those words. Weight management success is going to lead to less mood swings, less feeling hangry, right? Less hot flashes, more regular periods, more ovulation, right? And so we need to make sure that we are not ignoring stress and we're not looking at as, I know a lot of people can look at stress as like, it's just there. It's just, whatever. But when we look at their blood sugar, we're like, listen, this is something you have to address. The first thing that I ask patients when I see the insulin glucose challenge where their fasted levels are elevated, I'm like, what kind of week have you had? Or when they did the test, what kind of week did you have, right? And 99% of the time, it's been a really bad week. Or you know what, Laura, it's been a really bad month. So what can you do? First of all, we have to figure out, let's find the culprit of why we have these issues. Identify the triggers. What situations, people, places, or things are causing you stress? Number 2 is, how do we set boundaries around that? How do we delegate tasks? How do you control what you can control, i.e. sleep hygiene, i.e. enough protein, i.e. enough water, i.e. movement daily, non-negotiable. Don't tell me you don't have time for movement. If you have time to sit down, you have time to move. And I know some people are like, but I'm on my feet all day at work. That does not count. Unfortunately, your routine movements do not count as exercise. You need to be moving on top of that. We need to prioritize fruits and vegetables and relaxation techniques, breathing, yoga. I can tell myself that as well. So supplements can be supportive, but one of the reasons why your stress supplement probably isn't working is because it's not there to address the root cause. It will give some support to the body while you work on other things, but the goal, at least in my patients, is not to have them on stress supplements for the rest of their life and actually look at some of those root causes. So I'd love to chat more. If you have questions, you can comment below. And if you have other questions, just join. This will be in the Hormone Society Telegram group, but if you're getting this via email and you want to join the Hormone Society, you can ask your questions and everything else. We'll talk soon. Bye.